Okay, so this is basically very casual, impromptu little discussion about collaborating and your experience with it. So started off by asking everyone who are they and what their practice is.
I am Michaela Jade Friedman, but mostly go by Kayla Friedman. My practice is photography. I have more control and more ability to create an idea rather than sell an idea.
I'm Clara, I do fashion, at least Becca, I'm in third year. I'm trying to be a visual merchandiser.
I'm Nick, and in terms of my practice, I try to do as little work digitally as possible.
So I'm Layla. I'm a PhD student at the minute. I tend to describe myself as a few different things. So a designer, an educator, researcher, and a thinker, and then also this PhD that kind of is where that's sitting at the moment.
I'm Jo Hassel, and I've worked with F in collaboration with F for how many years? 6 years?
At least 6.
You've done it for? Yeah, at least 6.
At least 6. Yeah, and I'm Liz Sterling, and I'm a member of F too.
What sort of collaborations have you been involved with?
Well, right now, it's one of the biggest collaborations I've ever been involved with. I'm making a magazine called Chasm, an inclusive queer feminist magazine with Becca, Godfrey. And I don't do graphic design, I'm not very technical in that way, but when it comes to photography, that's all me. So I needed someone to help me do the rest of it, and that's when we collabed.
So F8 course was made up of 4 people. There was Jo and I, Casey Orr, who's a photographer, and Laura Robinson, who's an artist based in Leeds. So we were part based in the university and also out at Leeds as well. A collective, and we came together to make actions and make work together around women, feminism, and initially it started as student projects, and then it started to expand further out of student projects into a collective practice where we decided to see what would happen if we made work together, pooling our different kind of schools around a sort of feminism.
I mean, and the important thing is, I suppose, with the collaboration is that you're friends.
So, who do you tend to collaborate with if you are collaborating?
It's mainly just been graphics. Graphics I have collabed with in first year. It was one of my friends. She does interior design. So I collabed with her with a few designer bits for her just cushions and what fabrics to use and stuff. So it's mainly that, and obviously the photographers. We collab within our class, so we all help each other out with different ideas and design and stuff.
A bit like a studio culture kind of situation.
Yeah,
then.
we all do collab together.
I guess the last piece of work that I did in a collaboration, it was more he was a client and I was, just a practitioner. But it was a very collaborative process.
So when it's talking about my design practice, I mostly work on this idea of co-designing workshop structures. So that's where I tend to invite people in to have these conversations. So I guess that is where, I'm a big believer in collaboration.
When you're collaborating, how do you get your practice across in a collaboration?
With difficulty.
So what are your thoughts really on collaborating?
Because I feel one idea on its own, that's good. But more ideas from other people you add to that just brings more elements that maybe you would not have originally thought of by yourself.
I love it. I think it's such a good idea, because I'd have absolutely no idea. Honestly, it's a lifesaver. It's been great. It's such a good idea, and it's so good that we can actually do it within the uni.
And is Chasm going to go anywhere, do you think?
Yes, Chasm's going to be bigger than Vogue, GQ, Buffalo, you name it. Chasm's going to be up there.
And who do you think is going to start collaborating with on Chasm?
anybody who deserves to have their voice shared or their art seen.
Why don't we look at it together with the students? And so rather than it being a top-down thing where we guide them through what feminist art was and feminist art practice and the history of that, we just thought, well, we'll find out too.
And so it is thinking about how we can create spaces where people's voices are valued and heard in a structure that encourages that. So I think a workshop, for me anyway, has been like the way in for that. And I mostly kind of tend to focus on like speculative design workshops, so thinking about the future. One reason why that's kind of become my approach is that it allows people to free up from all of like the nitty-gritty kind of bureaucratic stuff that happens in the present, to putting themselves in a different place in the future, and collaborating in that space is how I found a good way of bringing people together to imagine new possibilities.
So we just felt like we needed to kind of find some space, carve some space out for ourselves to try and work out what we could do together. And doing stuff together just seemed less precious and more of a laugh.
And also that maybe you do things that you wouldn't do on your own.
The group gave us that sort of fearlessness, didn't it?
I've invited people in from different kinds of areas of design education, so it very much becomes this place where it's how we can learn from and with each other, regardless of where, you know, we might traditionally be seen as like an educator and a student, and we might not necessarily have conversations about how things can change together. So that seems like a big important part of collaborating to me.
What did you learn from that experience?
Well, I guess it was a very good experience in terms of like your work isn't always going to be shown. It's, you know, you might work on something for ages and you might really want it to be out there, but that might not happen.
But that's the future of the collaborations. Are you going to do any other collaborations, get involved with other people's stuff?
I hope so. I hope that I could have clothing lines that designers that I could take pictures for. But yeah, if someone wants to collaborate with me, I'm open. If there's anything to do with photography, I'm always up for it.
Working with other people makes you see things through somebody else's eyes, and you're not worrying about having to be that practitioner that everyone expects you to be.
I'd say, so I started doing the workshops back when I was doing my BA, so that was when I first got into this, and that was very much towards the end. And then through that, I invited some people into that, so educators, and then that led to, so I ran another workshop with the Graphic Design Educators Network. So it's like those very small moments where you've invited someone into one workshop and they are like, oh, this is interesting, and then they'll open up a space for you to speak to another set of people. So I think that in a sense has been like where that opportunity to grow in terms of collaboration and speaking to wider audiences, it's been through doing a workshop, meeting those people, and then they're like, okay, it'd be interesting for you to speak to these people, and through that's where it's kind of it's kept growing, and now I'm like speaking to people even like internationally, like in America. So it grows quite organically, I think, once you start actively trying to make those kind of spaces for people to come together.
But also help yourself.
It's getting a connection
Yeah,
somewhere
like,
that you didn't
yeah.
think you could.
Yeah, well, it's
What do you think you're going to do with collaborating in the future? So have you got anything you'd actually like to do, or is it kind of a no-go zone now?
I think, like, considering that my end goal is to work in a studio, like, I think it would just be so nice to work in a group, but I think it's super important with group work for there to be some sort of manager involved. Like, maybe that's not part of your group, but like this is like a studio kind of scenario, you know, I would imagine. So there will be someone that is rotating you all separately. There's no confusion as to what's to be done. It's like, I think that way it works probably best.
So you'd never work in a studio when there's collaborations happening all the time?
That's a sticky one. I wouldn't want to work in a graphic studio. I might want to run my own studio one day where I'm the creative director and I have people working underneath me, but I wouldn't want to be underneath someone else.
Do you see any like future collaborations that you'd like aspire to work with and work on?
Like I'd like to collab with like some big brands like in the future if like I had the chance. Obviously it's quite far-fetched, but like brands, you know, that are like really good for the environment and stuff, and like that would actually help to get the word out about sustainability.
I think the whole pandemic it forced me to kind of reconsider my practice, in the sense I was very much get people in a place round a table to do these things. So I think there was a lot gained in that period of time when we was, you know, working in an online format. I ran the Corridor School project, which was like a really intense, like 1 week program where students came together online to like build this design school from elsewhere. And I think there was something there where you perhaps wouldn't have got in person, because we spent like an intense amount of time together online building this thing, and everyone had access to everything.
A blancmange, you could say, or a jelly that you're trying to work together, but who are you within that?
You'd all learn from each other because you could just see all these amazing things that everybody just brought to the mix.
This is one of the first major collaborations I've ever done. So yeah, this is the best experience I've ever had.
No, I've literally like, it's been so good just the whole time.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn from it, and I think like it could have been a negative experience.
You have to learn quite a bit to be a bit mindful of each other. It's never just a sort of totally even amount putting into something, I think, often, or you have to be able to listen to each other, I think, and hear what people are saying, as well as going, come on, never, you know.
Also, you know, it's surprising how things grow, and yeah, how people kind of they want to engage with these kind of conversations, and at first you kind of think, oh, who am I doing this for, and is it gonna, you know, have any kind of reach? I think people have really got to a stage within design where it's like we need to reconsider how we're doing this.
Got to consider the project I was doing with my posters just on my own, just for the love of it, is what led to me getting that job. The end goal is what's important.
I think we definitely need to be thinking about how these kind of moments of interconnectedness and collaborations, they need to be at the forefront of design practice, because I think design just in itself can become a very insular thing if you get caught up in, you know, very like making things look nice. I think if we're not thinking about, you know, the audiences we're designing for, who are they? I think we need to constantly be asking ourselves those kind of questions. So in order for us to be able to answer those questions, we need to be engaging with, you know, a wider audience and different voices. So
it's amazing how many women we've met, in particular, along the way, that have been like, come on, you know, that like really felt that kind of, the feeling of people saying, I want to be with you as well, or you know, we're really behind you, or, you know, and that's kind of motored us along a little bit as well.
You've got to know what you love before you start collaborating to bring your strengths.
So identifying that each person had quite particular skills that were really useful to utilise in, you know, certain points of a creative process, I suppose.
You know, education, I think maybe the time's come for that to kind of be switched up a little bit, and education, like, we might learn more from if education begins to lead the profession more, and thinking about how that might disrupt and change things in a good way.
Of why you're doing the collaboration in the first place. It takes really a lot of energy, I think, to do it, and
so it depends what motivates the collaboration, doesn't it? And those motivations can change as well, can't they, over time?
Yeah. Maybe comfortable within the collaboration as well, do you think?
It's good, do it.
The future.
Collab is the future. You can't work on your own.
You can't work on your own.
Everyone has different experiences, so it's better to bring them all together.
It's easy being in Japan. What's the problem? What's the problem? It's easy being in Japan. What's the problem? What's the problem? There is no problem.